Hello and welcome. You're watching Lockdown TV from Unheard. Well, we are on day 2 of the national lockdown here in England, and there's already some quite surprising things going on, like, for example, locking students into their university with fences. Well, here to tell us about it is Izzy Smitheman, who's a first-year student at Manchester University. Hi, Izzy.
Hiya.
So, give us your version. What's actually been happening up there?
So it was Thursday morning, and without any warning for any students, I've noticed personally, because I was just walking across campus, that they were putting fences up everywhere. And soon, basically, the fences were surrounding the entire campus. Many buildings were completely enclosed in them, apart from small gates to, let people in and out, which obviously was very scary, and no one really knew what was happening.
Have you found out at all what the idea of it was? I mean, was it to prevent students coming in and out of the campus?
So there's been a lot of mixed communication. Because obviously we weren't warned about this, we didn't know what was happening. Some people spoke to the people putting up, and they said it was to stop us mixing between blocks, and that we were going to get wristbands for our individual blocks and stuff. But then later we got an email from the university saying that it was a security measure to stop people coming to the campus who weren't from the campus, although I struggle to see how enclosing entire buildings would help with that.
So you then kind of started a bit of a protest, is that right? We've got some footage of it, you talking to the crowd there. Let's see if we can play that.
This entire term we've been lied to. They promised us a safe campus. They made us come here, yet they continue to blame the students for the spread of the virus. We're the ones that are paying for this. We're the ones that are paying thousands of pounds to live in these unsafe halls when teaching isn't even in person.
So, what was the protest about?
So the protest was obviously initially a reaction to the fencing. We felt like the university was treating us like animals. They weren't listening to us, and they were blaming us for this outbreak. And now on the first day of lockdown, despite, fragile mental health for a lot of the student population, they don't talk to us, and instead they lock us in, which is what it felt like. But I think the protest was also a lot bigger than that. It was a lot of students used it to voice their anger at the university just for the entire experience, for bringing us here onto a campus, having promised us face-to-face teaching, and now that we're paying for the accommodation, basically just not offering enough support.
The fences have now been removed, is that right?
Yeah, so it was during the protest that some people started tearing the fences down, kind of as a release of their anger, and, to show that I guess we won't be enclosed like animals, and that we will resist. And from that, then the university, kind of halfway through this was happening, sent an email saying that, they were going to take down all the fences. And so this morning, the rest of the fences were removed.
So you mentioned an outbreak. Has there been a big outbreak on campus? Or what do you know about how many people have had it?
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone had it. In the first couple of weeks, I'm not sure I know many flats where they didn't have at least a couple people, if not the entire flat, test COVID positive. And when that happened, the support from the uni was absolutely minimal. They were suggesting that if we didn't have someone we knew that could deliver us food, that we should just wear a mask and go to the shops, which obviously, if you're COVID positive, is not just unsafe but illegal, as well as spaces like laundry services and postal services just telling us to go and wear a mask there. And although they did try and offer food boxes, those weren't given until most people were on their last days of isolation, and most of that was food that went off in a day or 2 days.
So did anyone have symptoms, or are these mainly just tests that are positive but people didn't know they were ill?
Yeah, I think luckily most students are, as young people, we're more asymptomatic. A lot of people lost their taste and lost their smell, which obviously is very scary. And
do you know anyone who had it badly?
I know a few people who felt quite down for a day or two and felt quite feverish, but I don't know anyone who had breathing problems or anything like that.
So what a very strange experience this must be for you. This is your first year at university, and nothing's really been normal at all, has it?
No, not at all. You think of university and freshers and, all the experiences that you would get, but I haven't even been into the university once. I haven't really left campus, to be honest.
And what's the mood like among the students, would you say?
I think it's mixed. I think since we've heard that we're going into another national lockdown, I think the mood's become a lot worse. People are very worried. People, because we're living with strangers in shared household with people that we've only known for a month. Like, luckily, I really get on with my flat, but if people who don't get along with the flat are in such horrible positions, and I think the mood is, it's quite. People feel quite isolated here, I think.
Do you wish you'd sort of taken a year out or something? I mean, are some people considering just ditching it for now?
Yeah, so like I know a few people who have completely just dropped out this year. Personally, I'm glad I came. I think although it's a mad time to be at university, it's a mad time everywhere. And at the moment, I think I've been able to get on with my course and stuff. But despite this, I wouldn't be surprised if this year the experience is wildly different to the other years.
What would you like them to have done instead, I guess? I mean, do you feel like there's too much anxiety about young people getting it if they're not even getting sick? Or do you think it's right to try and kind of contain it if there are these positive tests? What would you like to see happen?
I think I would just like the university to trust us and to have a dialogue with us. They can talk to us. We are mature. They're slapping fines of £1,600 and stuff just to students, to 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds who, no one has it. It's really difficult for people to find part.
Someone's got a £1,600 fine.
Yeah, so quite a lot of flats for like various sort of parties and stuff have been getting fined by the university, and those have been varied from like £200 to, I think one of the highest is £1,600 so far.
So have you heard about Christmas? Are you going to be? There's some talk about whether you're going to be allowed home or not. Is that all cleared up now?
It's not clear at all. I have no idea what will happen at Christmas. I'm obviously hoping that people can be reunited with their families. And that the government sees that it's not us to blame, and that, by coming home, hopefully we can all be safe and supported with that.
Are you worried about going home in case you're positive, or do you think it's all done and dusted by now?
I think, obviously, I think as a student who's probably unlikely to get very ill from COVID, my biggest concern is obviously passing it on to others. So that would be a worry of mine, passing it on to the wider community. However, I do think, almost everyone here who did test positive would then have had the antibodies. And I think in some ways students are in a better position to go home. I think there can be ways to do it, test everyone before sending them home, sort of thing.
When you mentioned that there were some parties and stuff, would you say most people that are kind of taking it seriously and trying to do their best, or quite a few people just sort of thinking there's nothing we can do about it, let's get on with life?
I think it's a mixture. I think no one doesn't care. I think the people who, are socializing and stuff, I think they're very careful not to leave the campus, not to, to keep their distance from the non-student community, so from cleaners and stuff. I think it's really irresponsible to have brought students on in this place and not expect them to socialize. I think mental health wise, isolation is such a damaging thing for young people, and so I think it's unfair to blame the students. Really, it's the university and the university sending cleaners into COVID positive flats and stuff that actually need to be addressed first. And
you're still paying the full whack for your year, even though this doesn't really seem like you're getting your money's worth?
Yeah, so I've been part of the rent strike here on campus to try and argue for some rent money back, as well as the ability for students who, for example, want to go home and then return when face-to-face teaching resumes, for them to not have to pay for an empty room. And so a large group of probably around 300 students actually haven't paid their rent for the last term. But again, the university's had minimal contact with us in replying to our demands and then actually responding to that. So I'm not really sure what will happen. But so far, they seem to want us to pay the full whack.
Sounds like you're starting a bit of a political movement there, Izzy. Look, you drew quite a big crowd yesterday. What's next in the political campaign?
I'm not really sure what's next in the political campaign. I think there's a lot of anger, and I think what happens with rent will be an interesting thing to see next. I think also later in November, the 16th of November, there's the government are discussing tuition fees and whether they should be waived for last year. So I think perhaps try and look at that, because to be honest, the online teaching with pre-recorded videos isn't worth £9,250 in the same way that going into lecture halls and stuff like that would be.
Have you had any in-person tuition?
No, I haven't been into the uni once.
So you could actually be at home?
Yes, I could very easily be at home, and I would get every single thing done. And the fact that, I'm in a flat where I have my bedroom and I have the kitchen, that's really hard to work with, a full-time degree, and with only those spaces.
Well, Izzy, thank you for telling us about it. Keep fighting the good fight, I say.
Thank you.
That was Izzy Smitheman from the University of Manchester, who's just started there and is having what sounds like quite a difficult time. Thanks to her for telling us about it. This was Lockdown TV.